The sun blazed over the endless plain of Shinar, its heat relentless, but the thousands gathered below barely noticed. Sweat mixed with dust, forming a gritty paste on their skin, but their focus was fixed on something far greater than discomfort. All around, the clang of tools against clay bricks rang out a steady, determined rhythm that echoed the heartbeat of a people united by a single, audacious dream: to build a tower that would touch the sky. This was a world still trembling from the memory of the Great Flood. The survivors, descendants of Noah, had spread across the land, carrying with them both awe at their survival and a growing sense of their own power. They spoke one language, understood each other without effort, and for a brief moment in history, humanity was truly united not by borders or kings, but by a shared purpose. The plain of Shinar, vast and fertile, called to them. Here, they saw not emptiness, but possibility. The idea began as a whisper, a hope for security and belonging. Let us build a city, and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. It was more than a construction project. It was a promise to themselves a way to ensure they would never again be scattered, never again feel so vulnerable to the whims of fate. In those early days, the work was almost joyful. Master builders, wise with the knowledge of generations, laid out the foundations. Men and women shaped bricks from the rich clay, firing them in great kilns that glowed like embers in the dusk. Tar, thick and black, sealed each brick in place, binding their hopes as tightly as the walls themselves. The scale was staggering. Materials had to be hauled across the plain, workers organized and fed, every detail coordinated with a precision that seemed almost miraculous. Yet, driven by a common vision, they moved as one. The tower rose, tier by tier, a stepped pyramid that dwarfed anything built before. It was a ziggurat, but unlike any temple the world had seen. This was not just a place for worship, it was a statement, a challenge, a monument to human possibility. As the lower levels took shape, excitement swept through the city. Elders spoke of drawing closer to the divine, of building a beacon for all people. The young dreamed of making history, of leaving behind a legacy that would outlast the stars. Weeks turned to months, months to years. The tower grew, a silent giant reaching ever higher. From afar, it must have seemed impossible, a geometric marvel rising from the earth. Proof of what people could achieve when they stood together. The worksite buzzed with energy. Songs and chants rose from the laborers, echoing off the new walls. Festivals marked each milestone, celebrations of progress and unity. But as the tower climbed, something subtle began to change. The fear that had first driven them, the fear of being scattered, gave way to something bolder. The dream of reaching heaven became a dream of becoming equal to the divine, of making a name for themselves that would never be forgotten. Pride crept in, quiet at first, then louder. The line between ambition and arrogance began to blur. One sweltering afternoon, an old bricklayer watched as younger men argued over the next phase of construction. Their voices were sharp, dismissive of the elders' caution. He felt a chill, despite the heat. The unity that had once bound them was fraying. Small disagreements grew into open friction. Then, suddenly, everything changed. It began with confusion, a supervisor shouting instructions, only to be met with blank stares. He repeated himself, louder, but the workers just looked at each other, bewildered. All at once, the common language that had united them was gone. Words became meaningless sounds. Commands were misunderstood or ignored. Panic spread like wildfire. A master craftsman tried to explain a blueprint, but his words fell flat. Arguments erupted, fueled by frustration and fear. The harmony of the worksite dissolved into chaos. Where once there had been a chorus of effort, now there was only noise shouts, protests, the clatter of dropped tools. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that bring history's greatest mysteries to life. Imagine the scene. A city alive with purpose, suddenly paralyzed. A worker called for mortar but received bricks. Instructions to raise the beam were taken as lower the rope. Accidents multiplied. Loads of stone crashed to the ground. Warnings went unheard. The dream that had brought them together was unraveling before their eyes. Families who had lived side by side for years could no longer understand each other. Brothers became strangers. The very thing that had made their achievement possible, their shared language, had vanished, and with it, their unity. Suspicion replaced trust. Fear replaced hope. The tower, once a symbol of their togetherness, now stood as a monument to their division. Work stopped. The scaffolding, once alive with movement, was silent. The half-finished structure loomed over the plain, a stark reminder of what they had lost. In a cruel twist, the project meant to keep them together was the very thing that drove them apart. As communication broke down, people gathered in small groups, clinging to those who still spoke the same words. Slowly, painfully, they began to leave. The city emptied. The plain of Shinar, once the heart of a united people, became a place of scattering. Centuries passed. Nomads wandered the land, gazing up at the crumbling ruins of the tower. They told stories of the Great Project, its true purpose lost to time. They marveled at the ambition, the scale, and wondered about the people who had dared to build so high. But few understood the deeper lesson, the way pride and unity, hope and fear, had shaped the fate of all who came after. The Tower of Babel was not just an unfinished building. It was a turning point, a lesson carved into history. It showed the power of language to unite and to divide, the danger of unchecked ambition, and the mystery of a destiny greater than any one people could imagine. In the silence of the ruins, the wind still whispers the question: were they punished for their pride, or gently guided toward a future of diversity and discovery? The answer, like the story itself, lingers in the air waiting for those who are willing to listen. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of ancient ambition, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. There are countless more stories waiting to be uncovered, and together we'll bring them back to life.